Peace. Oh my, I don't even know what's going on. Oh my, you know what I mean? I don't even know what's going on. All right. Peace. How we doing, folks? It's been a while. It's been a very long while. Good to see you all. I haven't got much time. I just wanted to see what time suits people the best, and considering where people are watching from, you know, I don't know what time suits you guys, to be honest. So yeah, I wanted to double check that first. Anthony McTucker, my teacher, brother. That's I'm honored, but please, I'm no teacher. Far from. Renegades of Londoner. I know. My bridge in Quran versus Hadith. It's been a very long time. I know he's in the States. Good to see you all, man. Good to see you all. So basically, the reason for this tonight is because I'm sure you guys have been watching. All right, 4 o'clock USA. All right. Now, I'm sure you guys have been watching um, people who refer to themselves as Quran alone lately becoming a bit more popular. Good to see all of you, my friend. Lately becoming a bit more popular, and they're even, you know, they're gaining a bit of an audience, and they're gaining a bit of tract. Now, the problem is, although they call themselves Quran alone, they aren't exactly Quran alone. Far from Quran alone. In fact, they're closer to being semi-Sunnis, meaning that they seem to be motivated by rejecting the hadiths as opposed to actually wanting to understand the Quran based on its own merits. So their issue seems to be more about rejecting the hadiths. Now, you notice that because when it comes to the actual contents of the Quran, you will find that many a times they still hold, you know, ideas that they've held from, that they still hold ideas that they've held from the Sunnah and the Hadiths, etc. And they try to remix it, if you will, when it comes to the Quran, and try to almost create a new Sunnah. So, because they call themselves Quran alone, obviously, the problem with that is our position can get extremely discredited once they are once they challenged and pressed on a few matters. You will see that what they really have is opinions rather than actual proof from the Quran. So we can't let that happen, and we've got to address certain things. You see, now we're gonna have to obviously make it a bit more consistent. These videos, yeah, repackaging the traditions. That's precisely what it is. Yeah, so we're gonna have to obviously go after that and clarify that. So with that being said, it's the usual. It always gets to it. It always comes to the rituals. Eventually, it always comes to the rituals. I mean, let's be honest. The Muslim world, even though most people will say they follow the Quran and Sunnah, what they mean when they say Sunnah is literally the rituals. They know the rituals are not found in the Quran, so therefore the rituals are found in the Sunnah. They engage in the rituals, so they have to claim the sunnah. That's bottom line when it comes down to. They don't. Most of them, as you guys know, do not actually open up the Bukhari books and etc. So it's the rituals are they're a massive Achilles heel, as they say, on uh, on the believers, to the point that when people call themselves Quran alone, even then they simply cannot fathom that those rituals have nothing to do with this message. Now, the the other issue with these rituals are that they create several groups. For instance, they create groups that call themselves ex-Muslims. If you think about it, the people that call themselves ex-Muslims, the only thing that they don't engage with are the rituals. Because besides the rituals, there's nothing in the Quran that they actually go against. All of the commandments in the Quran, they are still upholding them. Because let's remember, the commandments in the Quran are all natural. They're all natural morals that God has implanted in all of us. In fact, most human beings actually practice what is found in the Quran, they just don't know it. And that's because the Sunnah is has really become what people think Islam is. So they've created the so-called ex-Muslims. They've also created, and this is something I'm sure that you guys have all witnessed, is they've created people with massive amount of self-righteousness, massive amounts. Because they engage in these rituals, they automatically believe that they are somehow holy. I mean, it's why they ask you when you follow only the Quran, how do you pray? Because they just cannot fathom that you can be righteous without the rituals, or that you could be a believer without the rituals. For instance, there was a comment that an individual made last night that really pissed me off. And this is what I mean by the self-righteous attitude that it creates. Um, he said, and this is an individual that calls himself Quran alone. So he said, there are others who claim to follow the Quran alone, and they do not engage in any rituals. And he said, those that don't engage in any rituals, they eventually leave the entire deen. See the quick jab there? It's the same belief that a Sunni has or a Shia has. The rituals is the be all and end all. Without the rituals, you're a kafir, or you will be a kafir, or you just want to soften the deen, etc., etc. Everything negative under the sun, they'll throw at you. Now, peace, peace, brother. Now, the funny thing is, when it comes to Salah, when it comes to Salah, as per the Quran, it's actually extremely clear. So when people say, when people say Salah is in the Quran, but how we do Salah is not found in the Quran, what they don't realize is that they're saying the how that's found in the Quran is simply not sufficient. They don't realize it because they don't think that there is an actual how to do Salah that's stated in the Quran. So if there is a how to do Salah stated in the Quran, and yet you think you can somehow improve on it, then what are you saying about the how to do Salah that God basically stated in His message? What are you saying? You're saying it's not good enough, aren't you? So I'll give you an example. You guys are all learned in the Quran. Look at these verses. No opinions required. So for instance, let's start with 29:45. Let's start with that one. أتل ما أوحي إليك من الكتاب وأقم الصلاة إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر ولذكر الله أكبر until the end of the ayah. Let me bring it up. Until the end of the ayah. 29:45. So what do we have there? We have recite what is, let me take the, yeah. Recite what is revealed to you of the scripture and observe the salah. Recite what is revealed to you of the scripture and observe or uphold and or establish the connection. The word salah is connection. That part is, there's nothing ambiguous about that. You can even Google it. So now notice here we have a connection between reciting the book and establishing the connection. Recite the book and establish the connection. Now, that shouldn't surprise anyone because even Salah, as per the Sunnis, requires you to recite the book. There is no Salah without reciting the book. Notice that. So they can't escape the fact that to establish Salah requires reciting the book. And then it says, indeed, the connection prohibits from immoralities and vice, and surely the remembrance of God is greater, and God knows what you do. Now, notice it says, the connection prohibits from immorality and vice, and the remembrance of God is greater. So it does three things. It prohibits immorality and vice, and the remembrance of God is greater. So it has those three qualities. The connection has those three qualities. Now, those three qualities are all found in the Quran. So when you're reciting the Quran, you will find what the evil and vice that God prohibits you from, and you will also remember God great. All of those three qualities are found in the Quran. To give you an example, go to 1691. Was it 91? Was it 89? Nope, it's 90. So if you go to 1690, it says, God advocates justice, charity, and regarding the relatives, and he forbids evil and vice. See that? He forbids evil and vice. Same as it is said in 29:45. And the remembrance of God is all found in the Quran. So here's another example of establishing the connection, always requiring reciting the Quran. So 35:29. What do we have here? إن الذين يتلون الكتاب الله وأقاموا الصلاة. Surely those who recite the book of God and observe the connection. Those who recite the book of God and observe the connection. So now we have two verses connecting the reciting of the Quran and establishing Salah. Two verses. We'll continue. Third verse. Go to Surah Muzammil 20, which is 73:20. It's a long verse, but I'm just going to highlight the part that's necessary. فَقْرَؤُوا مَا تَيَسَّرَ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ وَأَقِمُوا الصَّلَاةِ. Recite what is easy for you from the Quran and establish Salah. So recite the Quran, establish Salah. So in order to establish Salah, you need to recite the Quran. The and here is simply a conjunction, meaning one is required in order to do the other. If I need to have a certain meal from a particular restaurant, what do I need to do? I need to go to that restaurant and eat. I'm not doing two different things. I'm doing one in order to achieve the other. So in order to establish the connection, you need to recite the Quran. Nothing difficult here. But we'll continue to prove that. What else? So we did, all right. We can go to, here's another, by the way, so the question was, how do you do Salah, right? So with these three verses, what did we find? We found that in order to do Salah, the how to do Salah is to at least recite the Quran. So that's one how. So one how, no, I haven't. I'll explain the commitment in a second. They're actually both there, connection and commitment, but they're two different roots. I'll explain in a minute. So this one is connection. So in order to establish the connection, we need to recite the Quran. So that is one how. The question was, how do you do Salah? Well, this is a how. The second how is if we go to 17:110, we will find that it says, ولا تجهر بصلاتك ولا تخافت بها وابتغ بين ذلك سبيلا. And do not be loud in your salah, nor be silent therein, but seek a way in between. Do not be loud in your salah, nor be silent, but seek a way in between. That's another how. You see? So A, we have recite the Quran, and B, we have recite it in a moderate tone. That is a how. And then it goes on to say, وَقُلِ الْحَمْدِ لِلَّهِ الَّذِي, and say, all praise be to God, until the end of the verse. But what are you saying? You're saying something from the Quran, you see? And say, and you're told what to say, which is a verse from the Quran. So again, Salah linked to reciting the Quran, each and every single time. What else? We'll continue. So if we look at 2014, it says, Indeed, I am God. Indeed, I am God. There is no God but me, but I. So worship me, wa aqimus salah li dhikri, and establish salah for my remembrance. So the purpose of establishing salah, according to this verse, is for the remembrance of God. Now, where is the remembrance of God found in? The remembrance of God is found in the Quran. Dhikr. You see? We'll prove that. We'll go to 62:9 to 11. O you who believe, when the call is made for the salah on the day of the congregation, then hasten to the remembrance of God and leave business. That is better for you if you happen to know. So you're called for salah, and what is salah here? Hasten to the remembrance of God. So the salah here is for to hasten to the remembrance of God. And what do we get when we continue reading? We'll jump to 6:11. And when they saw a business deal or entertainment, they flocked to it, and they left you standing. They left you standing. The you here being the prophet. They left the prophet standing. Say. Now the prophet is told what to say. And what he's told to say comes from where? Comes from the Quran. Say, what is with God is better than the sport and the business, and God is the best of providers. So what do we find here? We find that the prophet is reciting, he's conveying the Quran to the people. And the conveying of the Quran to the people is how the connection is established. The connection is established for what reason? For the remembrance of God. There's no escaping from any of that. Orthodox Mo, peace, my brother. Peace to all of you. Jaden, I see all of you. What else? Just notice all we've done so far is just verse after verse, not a single opinion. What else? We'll go to 7 170. Notice how the book and the salah is always connected. وَالَّذِينَ يُمَسَّكُونَ بِالْكِتَابِ وَأَقَمُوا الصَّلَاةِ, and those who hold fast to the scripture and they observe the salah. Indeed, we will not go to waste the reward of the reformers. Kitab, salah. Kitab, salah. Kitab, salah. Kitab, salah. Every single verse we've seen so far. 692. And this scripture, we've revealed it, one which is blessed, one which confirms that which is between their hands, so that you may warn the mother of the cities and those around it, and those who believe in the hereafter. They believe in it, and they over their salah keep God. Salah, scripture. Salah, scripture. Each and every single time. Do I even need more? So as you guys can see here, you're absolutely right there, brother. So as you guys can see here, according to all of these verses that we have read, in order to establish the connection, in order to establish the salah, one simply needs to read the Quran. One simply needs to hold fast to the Quran. You see, that is how the connection is established. That shouldn't be a shock to anyone because, hey, the book is from God. Therefore, the way we connect with God is through His book. There's nothing surprising there, is there? So when people say that, so we have two hows there, remember. So we have A, the reciting of the Quran, and B, we have reciting it in a moderate tone, at least that was for the Prophet, but nonetheless, reciting it in a moderate tone. Those are the two hows that we have in the Quran. So what people are saying when they say the Quran tells us to establish salah, but it doesn't tell us how to establish salah, they're simply saying the how to establish salah mentioned in the Quran is not good enough. That's bottom line what it comes down to. They're simply saying the way to establish salah, the way to establish connection as per the Quran is simply not good enough. And their idea of improving on that is to basically include kinetic movements, body movements facing a particular direction. Now, how does that aid in the connection you want with God? How does that aid in any way, shape, or form? I mean, bottom line is, God didn't find that it aids the connection in any way, shape, or form. That's the bottom line. God simply said, in order to establish this connection between you and I, recite my book. Pay heed to my book. This is the rope that God sent us. That is all God said. This is why they can never answer this question when they're asked, you know, can you, like, as someone who only follows the Quran, can you prove your claim from the Quran? This is why they can never answer it, because they can't. You will never find do these kinetic movements during your salah, blah, blah, blah. You won't find it. You see? Another thing that amazes me is, I don't know, is it dishonesty? Is it, lack of reading comprehension? I don't know what it is, but all right. For example, when people argue that there is times of prayer mentioned in the Quran, so they'll use verses like 1778, 11:114, and they'll use chapter 2, 238. And lately they've started to use Muzammil 73. Now, I don't know if it's dishonesty, like I said, or lack of reading comprehension, but none of those verses help them. There is another one they use as well, the one in Surah Nur, where it talks about the siesta and all of that. I think it's 24:58. So let me start with 1778. 1778. The Arabic is Aqimus Salah li duluki shams. Li. So the li here, they constantly ignore it because the li here has nothing to do with at or the. And without the word at the, they can't have time. So in order to create this illusion of there is time being spoken of, they put in the translation the word at the. So do this at the, then you could be made to think that there is a certain time being spoken of. But the word li only means to or for, and you do not use the word to or for when speaking of time. Very simple. So liduluki shams, to fading away, or for fading away. So establish the connection, or establish salah to fading away, or for fading away is not going to give you a time now, is it? But for some odd reason, um, it's highly inconvenient. But I don't know why they think it's okay to basically uh, manipulate and misdirect non-Arabic speakers, because at least the Arabic speakers have the ability to find the facts for themselves. They can easily understand what li is if they simply choose to. But to take that choice away from the non-Arabic speakers, I find that offensive. Another thing that gets ignored because it's inconvenient is the fact that it says aqim. It does not say aqimu. It's not plural, it's single. It's only speaking to the Prophet. For some odd reason, hey, inconvenient. Let's ignore that so we can create this, so we can create this narrative that is simply not there. And then to try and justify, it's singular. Aqim, singular. It's only speaking to the Prophet. So to even use that verse to talk about, there are times to pray found in the Quran, what are you talking about? It's not even speaking to you. Where was I? Where was I? Yeah. Um, so yeah, it's not even speaking to you. And then to try and justify that, here's the funny part as well. And then to try and justify that with, there's a verse that tells us that the Prophet is the greatest example, or the great example, uswatan hasana. Now, here's another thing I love about the Quran. God tells us in the Quran almost every trick that people use against his message to try and divert his message. Almost every trick he tells us. So one of the tricks that people use is يحرفون الكلمة عن مواضعه. They distort the words out of context. You see, you can basically present whatever narrative you want if you simply take it out of context, and that's all they do. So, for instance, when they say the Prophet is the greatest example, yeah, I'm fine. In what context? It can't be in every context. Was he the greatest footballer? Was he the greatest doctor? Let's be serious. It has to be in a context. Everything is in a context. So when you read the context, Surah Ahzab, in verse 21, Just read the verse before and read the verse after. And then, you know what? Let me actually go there. I read the verse before and I read the verse after. Let's see if we can get the idea that what this context is telling us is that he's such a great example that even when he's being addressed alone, we should do what he's been told to do. Let's see if we can get that from this context. So 33:20. They thought that the parties might come back. In that case, they would wish that they were lost in the desert, asking about your news from afar. Had the parties attacked you while they were with you, they would rarely support you. Battle, as you can see. The messenger of God has set up a good example for those among you who seek God in the last day and constantly think about God. We'll continue the context. When the true believers saw the parties, they said, "This is what God and his messenger have promised us, and God and his messenger are truthful." This only strengthened their faith and augmented their submission. Now, considering that context, do we get the idea, or can we get the idea from that context that, God is telling us that he's a great example. Therefore, when he's addressed alone, that really is talking to all of us. Do we get that from that context? Damn right we don't. We can never get that from that context. But this is the buzzwords that 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 they use to intimidate people with. You know what I'm saying? So um لدلوك الشمس إلى غسق الليل. Here's another part. So أقم الصلاة, establish salah لدلوك الشمس, to the fading away of the sun, لدلوك الشمس إلى غسق الليل, towards the obscuring of the night or of the dark, either or. لدلوك الشمس إلى غسق الليل وقرآن الفجر. In the Quran, here they throw in a word. In the Quran, during the dawn. The word during, they throw it in. It's not there. وقرآن الفجر. وقرآن الفجر. That's it. In English, literally there's three words. Wa and Al-Quran, the reading, Al-Fajr, the dawn. Those are the three words, word for word. So there's no preposition to say read the Quran during a certain time or anything like that. There is no preposition. They throw it in. What it simply says is, and the Quran, the dawn. The Quran has a description. Its description is the dawn. You see? Because it brings about a new dawn. It's a description of the Quran. Wa Quran al-Fajr. Now watch this. Inna Quran al-Fajr kana mashhuda. That the Quran al-Fajr kana mashhuda. That the Quran, the dawn, is witnessed. It does not say that in the Quran. There's no preposition. It does not say that the Quran in at dawn. There's nothing to suggest that. It's simply calling the Quran itself the dawn. The Quran itself is something that is gushing forth. Absolutely right, Renegade. It's an explosion. You see, it's something that gushes forth. Now, proof of that is, notice what it goes on to say. Kana mashuda, it's witnessed. Now, is the Quran witnessed during the dawn? Is that the only time it's witnessed? It's not witnessed at night. It's not witnessed in the afternoon. Is that what we're doing here? No. But what is witnessed is the fact that the Quran is the dawn, that it brings about the dawn. That is what is witnessed. They are in the dark. The Quran brings about the dawn. Get it? They're in the dark. The Quran brings about the dawn. The Quran is the light. They are in the dark. Nothing difficult here. All you need to do is not add things. You see, just don't add words that are not there. Inna Quran al-Fajr kana mashhuda. So the verse is basically saying you're in the dark. Now you have the Quran that brings about the dawn. Aqimus salah. Establish salah. To. So you establish connection to something. Establish connection for something. Take a pick. Either or. Liduluki shams. The fading away of liduluki shams. The fading away of the sun. The sun represents what? Light. Light is fading away. Therefore, you have what? Darkness. Light fading away, you have darkness. And it proves it by saying, towards the obscuring. Ghasaq is something that is obscure, that you can't see at all. It's obscure. You can't tell the shape, nothing. Towards the obscuring of the night. That's the state that you are in. Salah is done to it. When Salah is done to this state, you will get وَقُرْآنَ الْفَجْرِ. The Quran that is being recited is going to bring about the dawn. You're in the dark. The Quran is going to bring about the dawn. Literally, absolutely F all difficult here. If you don't want to force things in. You see? Yeah. 11.114. Same thing. Same thing. 11.114. What do we have here? I'll prove it. I'll prove to you guys that there is no such thing as times in the Quran. 11.114. وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ طَرَفِيِ النَّهَارِ وَزُلْفًا مِنَ اللَّيْلِ. And establish salah. And this is something that, for some odd reason, I don't know how it slips past them, but I guess it's because they're not that good with conjunctions, all of them, by the looks of it. So establish salah. They like to throw in here the word at. The word at is not there. Darafi. There's no at there at all. Aqimus salah daraf. Two ends, no problem. But there's no at. Establish salah, two ends of the day. Now watch this part. Two ends of the day. وَزُلَفًا مِنَ اللَّيْلِ. And near of the night. Or approach is not going to work because there's only one approach. So it can only be near. Watch this. And near of the night. And near in English can be both single and plural. It's determined by the context for those of you who want to highlight the fact that it's dual. So, and near the night. Now watch this. They somehow made near the night a separate time from sides of the day, which just goes to show how ridiculously bad their comprehensions are. Ridiculously bad. Because listen, near the night is by definition on the sides of the day. Near the night is by definition on the sides of the day. Is just at the very end of the sides of the day until it gets to night. Hence the word near the night. If anything, if you're told sides of the day and near the night simply emphasizes which parts of sides of the day. You see, you have sides of the day that is near the night, and you have sides of the day that is near the zenith, if you will, of the day. You see? So you have, let's say 12 o'clock represents day, 6 o'clock represents night. To the sides of that is the sides of the day. near the night of the sides of that is still the side. It's just an emphasis of which part of the sides of the day. So the and here is simply a conjunction. Sides of the day and near the night. It's simply a conjunction and not a separate point in time. In fact, go ahead, give it a try. Tell me, tell me, what is the distinct difference between side of the day and near the night? Point to me. When is side of the day? When does side of the day finish? And then we get to near the night. What part of when is that? Go ahead, point that out to me. It doesn't exist. Great to see you, my brother. Great to see you. So as I was saying, again, ridiculously like horrible reading comprehension. Near the night is by definition a part of sides of the day, the portion which is near the night, but it's still sides of the day. Now, I still have one thing left to tell you guys to prove that this has nothing to do with time whatsoever. And that is what it goes on to speak of. It goes on to say, it goes on to say, Inna hasanata yudhibna sayyata yudhibna sayyati dhalika dhikra lidhakirin. Indeed, the good deeds remove the evil deeds. That is a reminder for those who remember. Now, good deeds removing evil deeds. In fact, notice what it says. Indeed. So the purpose of doing this salah is so that the good deed, which is the establishing the salah, is to remove the bad deed. So that's the purpose of establishing the salah. That's what salah does. It's a good deed and it removes a bad deed. That is when you are obviously conveying it to people, which the Prophet was doing. And again, it's aqim, which is singular, addressing the Prophet. Now, the interesting part here is that good deeds removing evil deeds can never in a million years have anything to do with time. Never in a million years can good deeds removing evil deeds have anything to do with time. Which just goes to show that this verse is not speaking of time at all. But it's in fact, it's speaking of the same thing that the last verse was speaking of. It's speaking of a state that you are in, sides of the day, near the night. You're in that darkness. You're in that dark period. It's not fully dark, it's not night, but you're in darkness. You're in that period. And because you're in that period, Salah is established so that the good deeds of establishing Salah removes the evil deeds which that dark period is representing. That's it. There is no time here. There's absolutely nothing that suggests that there is time here at all. And 238 is just crazy. I mean, if you read the context again, if you read the verses before and you read the verses after, you will find that it's speaking of it's all speaking of laws pertaining to divorce and etc. So, in a context speaking of laws pertaining to divorce and widows, etc., etc., it's impossible to insert this idea that they're trying to insert by hook or by crook. Now, the Arabic speakers, they all understand this, to be honest with you. It's the non-Arabic speakers that are just beating their chest the most. The Arabic speakers, most of them understand. So this verse says, Hafidhu ala salawati. So guard over your connections. Hafidhu ala salawati. After having spoken of laws pertaining to divorce and etc., he then goes on to say, guard strictly over your connections. And then it defines the connection by saying, wasalawatul wusta. Now, again, they always like to throw in prepositions that are not found in there. It does not say the middle, the middle salah. It does not say in the salah in the middle. There's nothing to suggest a period of time, as they would like to say it does. What it simply says, the English equivalent is the connection, the wusta. The connection, I'm not even going to translate the wusta. The connection, the wusta. So the wusta here again is a description of the connection. The wusta here is a description of the connection. God bless you too, my brother. I appreciate that. The wusta here is a description of the connection. So in English, it's like me saying, I don't know, um, the Arsenal, the greatest. God damn it. The Arsenal, the beauty. You know what I mean? If you don't support Arsenal, I don't know what's wrong with you. But anyways, you get my drift. It's a description of something. So al-wusta is simply a description of the salah. So al-wusta can mean the best. It can mean the balanced, etc. It can mean the the best, the balanced, the middle. But even when it says the middle, what is being spoken of here is the fact that it's balanced, middle in a sense of balanced. So it's simply calling this particular connection that the Quran um, tells us to uphold. It's calling that connection a balanced connection. It's calling that connection the best connection. For crying out loud, who's going to disagree that the connection we have with God is the best connection? The connection we have with the laws of God is the most balanced connection, is the best connection. Who's going to have an issue with that? You see? So, what people are doing is they're trading away the gems in the Quran for their culture, basically. To justify their culture, they're really undermining the Quran, and they're also undermining non-Arabic speakers, as though we don't understand how communication works. You see, what have I got left? I think I've covered Salah, really, haven't I? By accident, I wasn't even planning to cover Salah, but there you go. You see how easy Salah is. You know? Guys, I'm gonna let you guys up. I don't want to be just seeing it all by myself. It's been a while since I've seen you guys, so it's time we had a little chat. But to be honest with you, lot, it's been a while since I did this, so I don't even know what I'm doing. I legit don't know what I'm doing. What the hell? You know what? It's funny that comment. Islam is not a religion. The Quran is a secular revelation. There is nothing religious about Islam. Well, I can't disagree with you on that one. In fact, one of these days I'm going to do a stream about how theocracy, believe it or not, theocracy, according to the Quran, is shirk. And because theocracy, according to the Quran, is shirk, association with God, obviously what the Quran is really encouraging is secularism. And I'll prove it to you guys in just a few examples. Think about every society a messenger was sent to, starting from Abraham, be it Noah, be it Jesus, be it Muhammad, all of them. Notice every single time they went to a society, all they did was simply use free speech. They simply spoke, but they spoke against the norms of their society. But what is free speech if you can't speak against the norms of society? That's the whole point of free speech, right? For you to be able to freely speak your mind, regardless of what anyone else thinks. Now, those messengers, they were always attacked. And they were attacked why? They were attacked because those messengers, the message they were conveying, went against the order of their society, went against the status quo of their society. And they governed their society using the name of God. Obviously, they would lie about the name of God, but that's how they governed their society. Like, for instance, Abraham's society, their idols were their gods, you see, and they governed their society using their idols as gods. And they eventually did what to Abraham? They eventually evicted him because he went against their gods. Theocracy. What's it called again? Noah, same thing. Moses, believe it or not, same thing, because Pharaoh claimed to be God. So since he claimed to be God, he was running his society in the name of God, which is him. You see? So it was a theocracy. You see that? You can't name me a single society that the messenger was sent to that weren't a theocracy. And all of them were against the messengers because they wanted to continue to lie in the name of God. They wanted the power that comes with using the name of God. You see? Now, notice the messengers didn't come with an alternative way of governance. And this is what the hadiths are for, is to continue the trend, is to continue the, tradition of using God's name. But the Quran itself didn't come, or any of the messages before, they didn't come with an alternative way to govern. But what the only thing they did come with is how to govern yourself morally. Not how to govern others, but how to govern you. You see? Morally, if you believe that is. So I can go on about this, forever, but I want to make a different stream about that. But bottom line is this. Bottom line is, since every messenger went against a society who governed their society using theocracy, and they didn't come with theocracy themselves, then clearly that can only mean secularism. That's the only thing it can mean. In fact, using the Quran, you couldn't, just using the Quran alone, you couldn't establish a theocracy. You couldn't, it wouldn't work. You see? So, yes, I 100% agree with you on that one. Inshallah, we'll make a different stream about that. Uh, 1 second, guys. Yeah, we'll make a different stream about that. Let me put the kind of, how do you pin it? Right. All right, the link is there, guys. If you want to come up here, it's been a while, man. Let me say hello to you, some of you guys. 15-20 minutes. I need to bounce though. We'll make this regular, but 15-20 minutes. Let's just have a little chat, and I need to go. But we will make this regular. Is it there? Can you not see the link? How do you pin it? Oh, okay. All right. Cool. All right. There's the link, man. Jump on. Yeah, big man. Yo,
Salaam alaikum. How are you doing?
salamun, my bro. It's been a while, man. How you been?
Alhamdulillah, I've been good, man. I've been good. It's
Good.
nice to see you back, man.
Hopefully, man. Hopefully, bro. It needs to be done because you see what's going on out there.
Yeah, did you see yesterday? It's like very like everything's hyping up and pumping up.
Yes, yes, renegade.
Peace, brother.
Hey,
Peace, man.
bro, please.
Peace, my bro. How are you?
How you doing there? Doing well, man. Doing good. London town, man. Just keeping my head down.
I hear that, man. I hear that. Good to
Yes.
see you, man.
And man, likewise, bro. Likewise, man.
We need to do this regularly, man.
Yeah, for
Real,
sure.
bro.
It's needed, man. A lot of people are hungry for the truth. A lot of people got a lot of questions, a lot of a lot of things that they're looking to find out, and we just need some proper representation on the Quran.
Definitely, man. Definitely. I agree with you, bro. I agree with you, man. I don't know, for some odd reason. I mean, we've been doing this for a while, but like we need to obviously have a better reach out there, man. I don't know where we're failing, but we need to have a better reach, especially now that we have people that call themselves Quran alone. But let's be honest, they're semi Sunnis at best.
Yeah, there's a lot of traditions and past practices being brought in and dragged in, man. I don't know if it's purposeful, if it's accidental, or if just people just can't let go of certain conditionings, but it's quite prevalent, man. Like I mean, I'm seeing all sorts of like Quran alone ritual prayers where they extract random verses and they prostrate on their chins and all this, man. I'm seeing a whole manner of things out here.
I've,
Please
I,
don't tell me they're prostrated on their chins.
yeah, yeah, I've seen that as well. I've seen that.
That's painful, man.
Yeah, yeah.
How are they doing that? Are they lying down?
No, they're just going straight up on the
Like a cat.
the curb almost. Like
I swear it can't be good for your back.
nah, it doesn't feel too good, man.
It cannot be good for your back. That is ridiculously unnatural.
Yeah, it's kind of hyperextending like the ligaments on the back of your neck because you're literally like face planting, but then lifting that neck up. It's like
Exactly.
it's not
That's not on.
no bueno then.
That's like the position where you put your chin and the guy hits from the
Yeah,
back
yeah,
of your thing.
Yeah, that movie, innit?
Yep, yep.
Where he bites the curb.
yeah, it's like
Oh no, that's a lot, man.
Yo, Maverick, bro, I've put a verse there. If you could like shine some
Bro,
light
I'm so not good at this stuff. Where did you put it?
on the private chat on StreamYard.
Bro, I'm so horrible at this stuff, man.
No worries, man. It's a new thing. We all are getting used to it.
So where's the private chat? Is it in the no, it won't be in
Yes,
the
sir.
oh,
Right.
private. Oh, okay. All right, cool. All right.
Sibghatullah. This thing, could you please, if you can?
Okay, how do I do it? Is it the first one, second one, or third one? The English or the Arabic? What should I put on?
The Arabic. I put anything. I put the verse is the Arabic, obviously. That's the number on the first, and then the translation.
So what do I do? Do I like highlight it? I'm dead serious. I haven't got a clue.
No, no. I'm just saying. Could you like? Do you have any understanding about Sibghatullah? The word Sibghatullah. That's used
No,
just
no,
when.
no. I'm waiting for you to tell us what that is. But how do I put that on the?
Oh, I've no idea about that. Never used it like
I
that.
thought that's what you were asking me to do.
No, no, no. I
Oh,
was.
Renegade, you're gonna need to help me out with this stuff, man. I'm
oh
telling
man,
you.
I'm a luddite, man.
I'm horrible.
I'm a technophobe, man. I can't do anything.
Bro, I'm proper technophobe, fam.
Yeah,
I
same.
send my son to deal with all of this stuff.
Yeah. Man, I think it's a generation thing, man. I'm like 1984 born, isn't it, man? So I
Me
grew up.
too, man. Me too,
Me too,
bro. So how you
1984.
moving, yeah?
Yeah, man.
I like to hear, bro. I thought I was alone in this.
Nah. It's a good generation, man. We grew up on a different staple of,
Life was simpler, innit? Like, what is all of this?
Seriously, bro.
yeah,
This is a
Yeah.
lot, man.
yeah, man.
Bro, I tell you, I need to. Okay, so what do you want me to do? Put this text onto the screen.
Yeah, if you can. Otherwise, just like expand on it a bit. Like, what do you understand by this verse?
Okay, chapter 2, 1. I tell you what,
Hmm.
just say what the chapter and verse is. Chapter 2,
Yeah,
138.
138.
And
Yes.
then the people in the chat can just put it in there. And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
I'll highlight it. We'll just
yeah,
we'll just do it like that.
yeah, yeah.
So The people in the chat, please post up chapter 2, 138, and then I'll just highlight it. I'll replace it with the StreamYard thing over here. So yeah, go on, tell us anyway. What about the verse, brother?
There's this word sibghatullah, and this word has been used twice in the Quran, just in the same verse. So pigment, color, is it like the essence of Allah? Is it like, what is it?
I don't know. I haven't looked this one up.
Because like even I just heard one guy talk about it, and that's the only time I've heard this thing being discussed.
Okay, well, this particular translation says the system or code of God, and who is better than God's code.
Oh, is it like a matrix?
So
Maybe.
it's his code, it says. So let me go to the word for word. So it comes from Sabara, it's code of law, religion, nature. Dye is in there, color, baptize, dip, immerse, assume the attribute, condiment, sauce, relish.
Interesting.
So those are the meanings of the word. So I guess so. If you was to say, for example, the color of God and who is better than God's color, and we are to Him servants. I guess you could understand what color is meant in this particular context.
Hmm. Yeah, it's
See,
more
His
like a system, basically. Like you, yeah, adapt his system.
yeah. So color can be someone's ways, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
yeah.
more
So
like an aura.
code is out there.
Would you reckon the rendition of that is coloring, immersion? I mean, I've seen a few different versions on there. Do you have any kind of
Well,
Arabic
for this particular verse,
significance to it, or
for this particular verse,
yeah, this particular one where it says about the coloring of God or the immersion of God or the code of God?
I mean, personally, I think the context seemed to suggest that it's speaking of the code of God. You see, so for example, if we read the verse before, if they believe as you do, then they are guided. But if they turn away, then they are in opposition. God will spare you their opposition. He is the hearer, the omniscient. Such is God's system, and whose system is better than God's? Him alone we serve. Say, do you argue with us about God when He is our Lord and your Lord? We are responsible for our deeds, and you are responsible for your deeds. To Him alone we are devoted.
So it's like
Considering that context,
it's a declaration of your belief.
there you go. You see, what I always do, I really don't have any particular sophisticated trick or anything of the kind. I simply just pay attention to the immediate context and the wider context.
Mm.
That's it. So whenever there's a word that's in discussion, I immediately look at the immediate context, which is what surrounds it, and the wider context, which is the discussion, this particular discussion held elsewhere in the Quran, and the entirety of the Quran in mind as well. That's it, nothing more than that. And I genuinely believe anyone that applies that,
Yeah, help
you
us.
don't need more.
True. The curious thing was that it's just here in this verse that you can find this word.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. I think so. So that's why I was like, because the Quran is a dictionary for itself, but if it's the same word is twice in the same verse, then it's a bit like things.
Actually, there is one more, brother. There
Is
is
it?
one more. Yeah. 23:20. Well, it's translated as relish over there.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the
Yeah, but
thing.
it's the same word, was subri. Different grammar, but nonetheless the same word.
Is the spelling same?
No,
Mm.
different spelling, but the same root word.
Same root. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You're 310, yeah.
yeah. 23:20, brother.
23.
23:20.
Okay. So
It's translated as relish.
it emerges from. I was talking about the olive or
Yeah.
the Mount of Sinai. It grows oil and is a relish for those who eat. Okay.
There you
Interesting
go.
how those two from that root fit into these two quite different contexts.
That is interesting.
Hmm.
That is interesting.
What do you understand about the word khinzir?
We taking it there?
As in lahmul
Too
khinzir?
soon? Too soon? No?
No, look, look. The thing is because a lot of the words, like
Yeah.
khamar, khamar
Yes.
comes from khamir. Khamir is when you make sourdough.
Right.
So it's like it is fermentation.
Yes.
You getting it? So
Yes.
like the word khanzir, what is
Mhm.
the root and what is it coming from? Like what's happening with it? If any idea you have.
All right. I'm sure you've heard of different arguments regarding khanzir.
Yeah.
However, I like to go with that which is demonstrable. That's what I love doing. I'm not into the opinions and all of that. So, for instance, I found a hadith, a hadith, believe it or not.
Uh,
Now, I want you all to look up this hadith, and someone in the chats, if you can just put it in the chats for us
Yeah.
as well.
Do you have the number? I'll take.
Yeah, I'm about to say. It's Sahih Bukhari. It's
Yeah.
33.99.
3399.
33.99.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the
It's
part that I'm interested in is the part that says, um, لولا بنو إسرائيل لم يخنز لحم.
yeah.
Have you found the hadith
Yeah.
verse?
Yeah. Lawla Banu Israel. I got it. One sec. Just
Have
put
you
it.
got it, Renegade?
no, I have to do it on this other phone. I've only got.
Oh, okay, no worries. I thought you were
Yeah.
looking up as well.
Yeah,
I'll put it in the chat
yeah,
as well.
nice. Let's have a look.
So notice لولا بني إسرائيل لم يخنز لحم.
Yeah.
So had it not been for Beni Israel, the people of the children of Israel, then meat would not rot. I repeat, had it not been for the children of Israel, then meat would not rot. And the word for rot is the Arabic is yachnaz. And the word yachnaz, you can ignore the yak part because that's just grammatical for rotting.
Mm-hmm.
See?
ING.
It's
That's
the
ING.
ing part.
Yeah.
However, the root word is khanaza. You
Khans.
see?
Yeah.
Yakhnaz.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yakhnaz, khanaza.
Yeah.
And the root word for khanzir is khanaza. We're talking about the same word.
Do you guys have any ideas on 560? If you're able to bring that one up, 560. It's the same. It's the same root word as the cons. But I don't know if you're able to bring that one up. I mean, should I read it out? What I've got on this?
Oh, khanazir. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good one.
So 560. I mean, I'll read it on my translation. It says, "Say, shall I inform you of worse than this as a punishment from God? Those whom God cursed and became angry at them, and he made from them apes and pigs and servants of evil. Those have a worse place and are more astray from the right path." I mean, what do you reckon that parallel would be with the swine and the fermentation or the rotting or the
Yeah. So now what we will need to do is, and this is simply how Arabic works,
hmm,
considering that, let's say, pig or swine and something rotting or rot, they share the same root word, considering that they share the same root word, khanaza, the only way to determine whether it's speaking of something rotting or whether it's speaking of a pig is simply again by paying attention to the context. There is no other tool.
hmm,
This is how they do. They have the root words, and as you guys can see, most, if not all of these root words can sometimes even have, you know, extremely different meanings.
Yeah.
hmm,
Conflicting meanings.
Yeah, like relish and color and code. You know what I mean? That we just saw earlier. So the way it's always determined is through the context, like all languages.
hmm,
You see, because we can all make words mean whatever we want depending on the context. See what I mean?
hmm,
So with that said, we can do one of two things here. We can either pay attention to this particular context in chapter 5, verse 60, and then we can easily understand what the other context is, where it talks about the things that are forbidden.
Mm.
or we can understand it from those verses, and we can easily understand this as well. What I'm trying to say is both of these verses, all we need to do is read the context, and we will see what fits.
It's interesting also the history of pork consumption. It's been frowned upon by many culture of the past. You know, it seems like the consumption of pig it's not as old as we think it is. I mean, the Chinese, for example, used to shun swine. Many Africans, many parts of the world,
Yes.
continent, the whole consumption of pig wasn't really a thing because they were always traditionally used for either eating the open defecations of people when in their communities. Also, it was used for the kill, the cleaning up of carrion, and I guess whatever just died of disease and illness. So I don't know. Typically, it was never something that people really gravitated to until I guess, you know, probably some remote cultures that only had wild boar available, or like the mass kind of farming of swine. It doesn't seem
Yeah.
to have a very very old history, to be honest, in consumption wise.
Let's also bear in mind that um, the particular times that we are speaking of, they would have meat rot on them. I mean, it's not like they had refrigerators.
True.
Mm,
So you can imagine how often that would happen. You see, meat would rot.
mm,
You see? And another thing we need to bear in mind is that in the Middle East, did they have pigs? Did they
mm.
even rear pigs?
No, maybe not. No. I mean, I
What,
don't know. I mean, what kind of
No,
climate?
they couldn't have.
No, they
They
don't
don't have
take
the environment.
what about
environments.
what about Surah Al-Fil? Did Arabs had to elephants?
No, no, that's not elephant either.
Ah,
And
that's a
that's
good
not
one.
even speaking of the Arabs. It's speaking of Lut, but we'll discuss that.
Yeah.
You
Okay,
see?
there's another word. There's
People
another
weak
word.
in
There's a word.
judgment.
Sorry, go on.
No, sorry. No, no. I meant the about the feel it being about those weak in judgment or those.
Spot on.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, there's a word called mighfar. Mighfar means shoulder blade. In the armor,
Uh-huh.
mighfar, like
Right.
ghafar, ghafur.
Okay, okay. Oh,
So,
protection. So it
so yeah,
represents protection.
when people are saying astaghfirullah, does it mean forgive me or protect me?
Forgive me or protect me, did you say?
Is it forgive me or protect me?
Personally, I'm leaning more to the protection.
Me,
Personally.
me too.
It seems a bit more consistent.
Yeah,
What do you think, Renegade?
Yeah, it sounds because it sounds like it's more related to protection than just like a toba or like a forgiveness
Yeah,
kind of thing. It seems more of a because of the word as well. It seems protection, and I'm guessing at that time it's they're probably seeking protection from the devil or protection from evil whispers or evil thoughts or evil actions and deeds along
yeah,
that lines. It seems more
yeah,
logical.
yeah.
yeah.
I think Abu Sulaiman would agree with us. Yeah. You see what I don't like about these videos though is we can go on forever.
That's true.
Like, I got shit to do.
That's true.
The
So,
scope of the Quran is not limited in any way, shape, or form, man. Like there's still so much to extract from it, man. Like there's
oh,
that's
absolutely, man, absolutely.
the end, the end times.
That's why we need to do this regularly now, man.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
it's nice also that we are able to reflect on certain things that we may have held certain positions we may have held in the past, and then be kind of humble enough to say, look, okay, that's what we thought then. Now, as we're learning more, we're able to, readjust our understandings, and I think that's a good thing, man, because I think it's bad to be for us to ever be locked into, okay, we sussed this out 8 years ago, and now we're just gonna, rinse and repeat, and no more change, nothing else is going to be found out. So I think I like the fact that you guys are very flexible and open to when new things come on the plate.
absolutely, bro. Absolutely. I mean, there's no point doing this if we're not going to be 100% sincere.
That's right. That's the one. Yeah, yeah,
This is
yeah.
why I don't understand the semi-Sunnis, to be honest with you. Like, why? What's the point of going against the Sunnah and creating all of this noise if
Mm,
you're not going to be 100%? If you're just going to be a 50%,
mm.
if you're just
Yeah,
going to go 50% of the
correct.
way.
Yeah. And I think also, like you said about the the theocratic mindset, it locks the interpretation in a particular era, and it just literally it just kind of just stays with that, and it just brings it as if it's relevant in that same understanding then as it is now. I mean, look at the kind of sectarians. They look at tafsir writers of centuries and centuries ago as if they had it all sussed out, and the interpretation of the Quran is locked in that era. It's just strange, man. Doesn't make sense.
Agreed, agreed. And it can
Because
even be abused, isn't it?
Mm.
there's some hadith that talks about, I don't know the number, but it says that anybody who tries to interpret the Quran on their own is not one of us. So
Yeah,
that's like the locking mechanism.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, the whole thing is about monopoly.
Yep.
yeah.
They want a monopoly of the deen badly. This is why they tell you you're a kafir straight away if you
Mm.
just hold and follow the Quran. You're a
It's like
kafir.
they were
You
stamping.
basically left their grip.
Yeah.
Mm. And it's the
That's what
same.
you
It's
mean.
the same things that the rabbinic circles did. They
Yeah, yeah.
monopoly, same as the Vatican and all those before. I mean, same as the priests of, let's say, India, where only certain castes were able to read the Vedas, etc. Like this
Yeah.
is just an old mechanism. You know what I mean? It's just
Just the same old game, brother, man.
same
Same
game.
game that's always been played.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
Nothing
just
new.
one shaitan doing it all.
In fact, they're the latest in it.
yeah,
They're,
yeah.
they're the latest at it. This has been going on forever.
Yeah, man. Bro, it's interesting to see how just in the 15 years I've been aware of the Quran alone position, to see how now you're getting certain camps, certain kind of almost sects forming, certain dogmas arising. It just becomes a bit bizarre, man. So I think a lot of sectarianism comes probably involuntarily via the ego rather than it being always a state sponsored project. I'm sure it is always a state-sponsored project as well, but you could just see even at the grassroots how it's starting to almost fall into a type of dogmatic sectarian divide, even among those who follow the Quran alone. Because I think insincerity and being beholden to preconceived ideas, it kind of locks people in schools of thoughts.
I
What?
agree with you. I agree with you. See, the way I operate is all you need to do with me is just simply cite verses.
Hmm.
The moment you're not citing verses and you're talking, then that's it. Like I'm not listening. You've basically got your own view and you're trying to convince me of your own view. But if I wanted views, then I would have just stayed a Sunni. You
Yeah, for
know,
sure.
I'm not looking for opinions and views and thoughts and narratives of people. I genuinely believe this is the word of God. Therefore, I'm just all ears for the word of God, and that's that.
Hmm.
You see, and I think that the really and truly the main disagreements tend to come around things that people have adopted as almost an identity. So, for
Hmm.
instance, we have the main one, ding, 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 the rituals.
Yeah, the rituals. Yeah.
True.
It's always the
Because
deal breaker, isn't it? It's always the deal breaker.
exactly, it's a huge one. They can't deal with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they feel like you're attacking them. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
another thing the rituals do that I've noticed is that it's like a crutch that people use so that they can feel better about themselves. They can basically go, I done these 5 prayers, therefore I tick
Quran.
tick this box, tick that box,
Yep.
this box. I've done my fasting. Let me tick that box. I've spent over £5,000 and went to visit the Hajj. Let me tick that box. So because I've ticked all of these boxes and I have the beard and all of that, I must be better than you.
Hmm.
You see, it allows them to give themselves approval. They
Yep.
literally approve of themselves. So the moment you take away the tool that allowed them to approve of themselves, now how do they get to feel better than you? How do they get to go, I'm righteous and you're not without that?
You've taken away the yardstick. That's why you've taken away the measuring stick by
There
which
you
they're.
go. You literally taken away the measuring stick. The
Yeah.
measuring stick which they use to go, I'm better than you. You've taken that away.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. You find that in all those organized religions, man. You literally find variations of the measuring stick, in every one of those religions, man. It just yeah, it's just there, man. I guess it's how they kind of organize a hierarchy among themselves. You know, what's his rank? What's his clerical qualification? What's his, level of pilgrimage and prayer and penance and, genuflections and mantras? I mean, literally, you'll find that a parody of that in every one of these organized systems. Like it's there in all of them.
Actually, it's more evil than that when it comes to the Quran. Because if you think about it, one, the Quran is a message to mankind. So it was never meant to belong to a certain group.
Exactly.
It's a message to mankind, you see? And believe it or not, I think what annoys them is the fact that the majority of the world already practice the Quran.
Mm.
If you think about the laws that are found in the Quran, now notice I said majority. Obviously, there are messed up people out there, but majority of the world, which commandment in the Quran do they break?
Mm.
Which commandment?
Yeah.
Majority of the world do not associate partners with God. Majority. You see, they believe in there's a God and that's that. They don't go further than that.
Mhm.
Majority. You see that? Majority of the world, they don't break any of these commandments. Like they don't, or at least they don't think it's right to break these commandments. They don't
Mhm.
say stealing is a good thing, murder is a good thing, robbing people is a good thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's it called again? Adultery is a good thing. Which law in the Quran would the majority of the world disagree with you in?
Right.
Tell me
So
one.
relationships. So.
Nothing. Just the shirk.
But even that, it's people in organized religions.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Other
If
than
you think
that, they
of
don't.
7 billion people in the world,
True, true. Other than that, they don't. They don't.
they don't.
Yeah. It's pretty hardwired into our fitra, I think.
It's
Yeah.
our nature.
Yeah,
Fitra.
it's in our
It's a
nature.
simple, natural system. You
Mm.
see? So, what they're doing really is they're stealing this message that's for the entire world, they're hijacking it.
Definitely, yeah,
They're
Yeah.
hijacking it, monopolizing it, and then creating certain symbols like a bandana.
yeah.
You
Mm.
know how the Bloods have red bandana, the Crips have a blue bandana, and that's how you separate the two? That's
Yeah.
what they're doing. All of
Mm.
these little acts and whatnot, it's only
Mm.
there to separate people and to basically create this idea of we're in the club and you're not.
Mm.
Mm. It's also interesting that Pharaoh kind of divided his people into factions. So the
Well,
whole
there you go.
it's always the old trick, isn't it? You just put them in factions, and then you get them fighting each other, so they're not actually fighting the power structure, and then they're just
It's
trapped
the
in that
same
little
old chestnut.
matrix. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, I'll be back in 2 seconds. You guys continue, yeah? Just two
Yeah.
seconds.
Yeah.
But you guys continue though. I'm not
Sure.
closing or anything.
Uh,
So, brother Renegade, where you from? If it's safe to speak.
London, here, London.
Oh, I'm from London as well. Nice, man. Nice.
Yeah, we've spoken before, man.
Have we?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
On
Zinc.
what?
No, it's
On,
zinc.
oh, using.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, bro, how are you doing? How are you doing?
Yeah, man. You good? You doing all right? You doing well?
Alhamdulillah. That's why I was like, I know this voice, but I don't know like from where because first time seeing you.
Cool, man. Yeah. How's everything where you are, man? Is it quiet, peaceful where you are outside and all that? No noise, no
Yeah,
drama.
outside is quite peaceful. Like right now it's Friday night, so like there's two, three pubs, so it gets a bit like noisy for a bit, but then it's all quiet and nice.
Yeah. Good, man. That's good. Any plans for the weekend or?
No, no, all of my plans now for the past 6 months, I've just been on the computer doing research and stuff. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all the plans are. Right.
Have you seen Igor's new stream? Have you seen any of his work recently?
Who's stream?
Igor's.
Igor's. Yeah, yeah. One just happened today.
Yeah, I haven't heard it yet. I've ripped it on my phone to listen
It's
at some point,
it's
but
basically like an add-on to what happened yesterday.
oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Not
Yeah.
not an add-on as in for it, but he kind of critiqued it in a way.
Response to, mm.
So, brother Maverick, what is your take on history? If you are into history, can't hear you. Can't hear you. bro, it's muted, muted.
It's muted. Yeah. He may have all the things.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Muted,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, all right, my bad. Oh, bro, I don't know, Renegade. Your videos just
yeah,
froze.
it's stuck, bro.
Is it? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. A bit glitchy. It's just on an old phone here. I don't know if I
Oh,
can
okay. Minor, minor,
optimize something.
minor. Shit happens. What was I saying?
Working now? Or working now?
Yeah, no, I
Let's try now. Yep. Can you hear me at least? Or
No, we can hear you, but
yeah,
the video is just froze.
the
oh,
videos.
right.
The video,
Yeah.
I keep it
Not
right.
sure. Not sure about these modern gadgets.
Minor. Don't worry about it,
Oh,
bro.
it's a nice
Believe me,
thumbnail.
Yeah.
I'm worse when it comes to gadgets. I'm glad this even worked. That is up there.
Yeah, you doing first time live stream yard, isn't it?
No. I used to do this before. I used to do this
Oh,
years ago.
okay. Yeah, long time ago.
Yeah, years ago. It's been a long time.
Are you
What was
still in
that?
touch with the? Are you still in touch with the Moroccan brother? You know, Ahmad. Do you remember the Moroccan brother?
Yeah. We're still in touch, bro.
Hey,
We're,
good man.
we I don't know where you've been, but we've been at Clubhouse, the app. You know the app Clubhouse?
Know of it. Never had it. Just
Yeah. To
I'm
be
sick.
honest, nowadays it's not all that. Like people are using the TikTok and that.
Oh, okay. I mean,
Yeah.
this works well. I mean, you know, you got enough traffic to the stream here as well. I mean, it's just when people know of it, they'll start to.
To be honest though, I'm bored debating people. I'd rather just, like start doing this and, you know,
No, it's
wait,
good to have some
wake people up.
internal dialogue among ourselves, man, because there's only so much you can try and convince those who are insincere.
Yeah,
After a while,
I can't be asked. I really cannot be asked. I'll be honest with you. Especially Sunnis. I've almost given up on them. In
yeah,
fact, my thing is now to like help out those that think they are ex-Muslims
mm,
or that think, you know what, I can't deal with this anymore, and they're about to dip and whatnot. And obviously the non-Muslims who like the Quran but don't want to adopt an Arab culture, if you know
right.
what I mean. You know what I mean? Because I guarantee you, most people would accept the Quran, but they think it comes with adopting a foreign culture.
Yeah, that's it. That's the thing that puts a lot of people off the whole
That's what
cult
puts people off.
simulation thing. Yeah, man. Yeah,
Mm.
that's
So
it.
Maverick, what do you think about history?
History, I've always, and this has nothing to do with the hadiths or anything like that, but I don't like to play with my own mind. So the way I see history, I've always looked at history as something I can't prove. I simply can't prove it.
Yeah,
There's things that may suggest that certain events might have happened, but that's as far as it goes. Like
yeah,
I'm not crazy about history.
yeah. Me too. Even like recently, a lot of things came in front of me, and I was like, nah. We've been lied to big time.
Mm. It's a bit of a rabbit hole, isn't it? The whole history rabbit hole, man. You can go far in it, man. You know, I'm sure there's some positive benefits from it, but it's always nice to kind of be grounded in the here and now as well, man. Because as we speak, look what's changing all around us, man. It's like it's important for us to start getting together, forming good tight bonds, doing stuff in the real world, having each other's back, just kind of being a presence. So when people know of Quran alone kind of followers, we show by example. They can see that we've got our stuff, figured out, and so at least on the track. Otherwise they'll look at us and they see us just divided and just with a thumb on top of our heads. So we don't look any more successful than anybody else. You know what I mean? Like,
You see, this is the thing. I don't think we are divided, to be honest with you. I think the only reason that people think that we may be divided is because there are people who call themselves Quran alone and yet they refuse to actually be Quran alone. Let's be honest here. Like, there are no rituals in the Quran, period.
um,
Anyone that argues that there is rituals in the Quran is simply not Quran alone. You can even ask a Sunni or a Shia this. They all know this. They're not Quran alone because they cannot simply prove their claim from the Quran without adding their own thoughts.
mm,
They can't. You
Yeah, that's
see?
it.
So, as for those of us who are, not arguing that there's rituals in the Quran, what
Mm.
differences do we have?
True, actually, yeah. I think the sincere Quran alone kind of follower doesn't have many differences. Yeah, it's right. It's the contentions over the rituals and how many of the rituals and where and the where and the how details. What color is the calf? That seems to be the contention with people.
There you go. The rituals and maybe the culture. The culture might also become a stumbling block, maybe. And what I mean by culture is when it gets to things like pork,
Mm.
alcohol, and marriage laws in the Quran. When it comes to, what, sometimes I feel like people almost think they are too righteous for the Quran itself. I genuinely believe that the way people are rolling is as though they are basically saying, I'm too righteous for the Quran. Because now, starting with pork, straight up, hands on the table, I ain't touching pork.
Mm.
And that's because of my culture. You see, that's the culture that I grew up with. Like it's instilled in me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna touch it. But I'm not gonna go as far as saying that God forbade it. Do you see the difference there?
Mm.
Like it's arrogant. Just because I feel strongly about something, I'm not gonna use the name of God on it. I don't have to have it. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm.
Because when it comes to the Quran and when it comes to the word khanzir, as we saw earlier, the word khanzir can mean either rotten or pig. And the only way to determine whether it's speaking of something rotten or pig is by basically proving it from the context. Nobody, I'll tell you this without any reservations, nobody can prove from the context itself that it's speaking about a pig. It can't be proven. So notice how bad it becomes now. So me knowing that khanzir is not necessarily pig, me knowing that I can't prove it from the context that it's found in the Quran, and me knowing that I'm disgusted by it, the moment I go ahead and say, you know what, it is forbidden, no proof, remember, it
Mm.
is forbidden. Now I'm basically, I'm using cultural supremacy. I'm basically saying because it's my culture, although it's not a big deal in your culture, my culture supersedes yours. It's discriminatory. Like I can tell us three right now, we come from backgrounds where that's a big ill.
Doesn't smell too good, man. I'll be honest with you, man. Just
Yeah, well, it's a big ill.
uh,
But there are people who didn't come from our culture. Are we saying that God is what, not approving of their culture? Is that what we're arguing? Because we don't have an argument.
Cool.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you reckon the contention over um, tradition feeds into some of the kind of racial supremacy type attitude that some people carry? I mean, I don't mean necessarily
Sorry,
within.
repeat that, bro.
Yeah, so I mean, do you reckon this kind of notion of racial supremacy comes into a lot of, I guess, humanity's division, not just Quran alone following
Oh
versus.
yeah. Human beings, our greatest test is our ego, isn't it?
Mm,
So we will use our ego in any way, shape, or form. You
mm.
know,
Because it's
we'll
interesting
use
how a
our
lot of.
maleness,
Mm,
we'll use our height, we'll use our physical, prowess, whatever we can use, our money. That's just how we roll.
mm. Yeah, that's yes, fair
I
point.
just want to clarify one thing, just so people don't think that I'm making a statement. Remember, all I said was I can't prove it from the Quran. I'm not saying it's speaking of pork, nor am I saying it's speaking of rotten. I'm leaving it to the viewers. It comes down to what can you prove from the context. That's what it comes down to. I'm saying that I can't prove that this particular context. Let's look at the context. The context is talking about what? Let's look at the prohibitions of meat. Um, it's talking about what?
Was that chapter 5 somewhere? Or...
5 something.
near the beginning somewhere.
Yeah. Prohibited for you are the dead animals, yeah,
Mm.
the blood, and the meat of khanzir, and what is dedicated to other than God. Now let's look at the other three other than the swine. So we have dead animals, we have blood, and we have what is dedicated to other than God. Now, in that context, we need to somehow argue that it's referring to the flesh of pig. I wouldn't know how to do it. I'm not saying that
You can't.
you can't do it. I'm saying I don't know how to do that argument. Do you see my point?
Mm.
Mm.
Interesting. Yeah. And
Because
do you reckon the thing about the carrion, like why I mean, and we don't obviously necessarily know, but why do we think carrion is forbidden? Because it's potentially containing disease,
Yes,
spoiled meat, parasite.
you name it.
Also, the animal probably suffered huge, possibly could have suffered, and it wasn't kind of
Yeah,
I guess slaughtered in a humane way or.
yeah.
okay, there's a verse that I put on the comments, the chat.
Yes, yes.
Uh, it says Azuwaji minad dawn. Now that is a word for sheep, isn't it?
Which verse is that?
This is 6:143.
8 in pairs from the sheep, 2 and from the goats.
Okay, that's what the translations say. I haven't, researched it, but that's what the translations say.
Yeah. So somebody was telling me that this dawn word is for sheep as well, and it is also for, like, weak. People who are weak and can't stand up for themselves, like how we say, oh, he's a sheeple.
Okay, okay, okay,
So
okay,
in Arabic, it goes like that as well. So
okay.
in the
That
next
makes sense.
verse, there's a word called bakar,
Mm,
and bakar is like, it goes for, I think, for cow.
mm.
But somebody is telling me bakar, they call bakir a lion because bakar means to rip. So when a lion attacks, he's ripping.
Okay.
Bakar. So what I'm trying to say is that the words in Arabic sometimes they mean something, but there's like a deeper essence meaning in there as well.
I hear you.
Just like dawn, you know. So
100%.
so maybe the khanzir has deep meaning, but in the context you said that blood, and then dead animals, and then how come there's a pig there out of nowhere? There should be
That's
a,
what someone would argue, yes. And
yeah,
I wouldn't know how to defend it.
exactly. That makes sense.
I wouldn't know how to defend it. But that doesn't mean that someone else can't. So again, yeah, I really think there's a lot of, it's culture. So really, really and truly, when you think about this whole sunnah stuff, when you think about even the people that call themselves Quran alone, but yet they really want to keep hold of the rituals, and even when you think about the arguments around, say, pig, alcohol, and marriage, yeah,
Yeah.
if you think about it, they all center around culture. Please tell me which one does not imply culture.
All of them.
They're all culture.
Hmm.
if
What,
if if you if you're from any place in the world and you go to any country, you will get married in your style, how they
hmm.
approve, your family approves. Yeah,
Exactly. You will have relationships the way you do in your society. When it comes to, let's say, the animals that we consume, well, it would depend on the society you're from. Some societies may have like a plethora of pigs.
true.
It might be the cheapest food that they can have. They also might be poor. That might be their only source of protein, for crying out loud. What
Yeah,
are we going to do?
true.
Can I ask what sort of contention do you mean with regards to marriage? Have you found any sort of
Good
kind
question.
of strong contentions among Quran followers when it comes to marriage? If so,
Yeah,
have you heard much?
unfortunately, I have.
Oh, okay.
Basically, if you look, no, Abu Sulaiman, I'm telling you, I would not eat pork, and that's because of my culture. My culture, no, no. It's a no in my culture. But I wouldn't go beyond that and put it on God. You know, God doesn't represent my culture. God is bigger than that. So what was I saying? Yeah, about marriage, brother. Yeah, you see, marriage is, again, it comes down to culture. Basically, the way to conduct a marriage can only be found in chapter 4:24 in the Quran. Chapter 4:24. I dare anyone to find me anywhere else in the Quran. And you will find that the only conditions for a marriage in the Quran is simply for a man and a woman to agree on a prenup. That's it. There is no other conditions required for a marriage to take place, which means A, there is no sheikh or whatever that you need to go
Yeah,
to, but
yeah.
that's not what bothers people the most. What bothers people even more is that the fact that the verse, nor any verse, mentions that you need witnesses to get married. And actually, there's a third one. It does not mention any witnesses to get married. And there's a third one. The third one is it does not mention that the permission of the father is required.
Wali. The wali is not needed.
The wali is not required. You see that? So if you come from a culture like myself, and I think you guys also come from
Mm,
that sort of culture, where marriage is one that takes place with the approval of the wali, and there's witnesses, and there's a shuyukh, and blah blah blah. You're gonna look at that verse like, hold on.
mm,
So this verse is basically saying the way the Western people do it, that's the right way. That's how they're gonna see it. You see, they're
mm.
gonna see it as, oh, so the Westerners, what, they got it right, and we did it. F you Quranists. You know what I mean? And
It's,
everything gets thrown at you.
it's interesting what you're saying, man. Also, the whole thing about the dowry, man, that thing is abused to death, man. You know how many women are unable to be married because their families set this ludicrous price, like they're selling them. Yet, it's just strange, man. Like the whole, you have to basically pay a set amount that us as a family basically dictates X amount. Like that's just strange, man. Like that. Do you know how many
But
people it
this is
keeps?
the thing. So that's what they're annoyed by. But
Mm,
I personally almost find this entertaining sometimes because I'm like, who do you think you're arguing with? Me or the verse? Because I've
mm.
done nothing but give you a verse. Look up chapter 4:24. Give me another verse that says otherwise. So you looked up chapter 4:24. It says
Mm.
precisely what I told you. It says you couldn't give me any other verse that says otherwise, and now you're arguing. Who you arguing with then? Me or the Quran?
With people though, tradition trumps the Quran for a lot of people. It's sad as
This is the
sad as
thing.
that is, man. It literally, there's people that would honor kill for tradition, but for the Quran, people are lukewarm. Like it's madness, man. Madness. Yeah, not good, man. Yeah. So where do you reckon we all go from here then? Kind of going forward, man. Like, would you reckon God has obviously bestowed that awareness upon people? What would be the next steps in the real world that we could take to somewhat be benefited from all of this insight into the truth? Like any suggestions, guys?
I think the best thing we need, actually, in fact, I think we might need to do this now. I really do think we might need to do this. I think really and truly, all that needs to be done is that the Quran needs to be translated in whatever language you're presenting it in.
Mm,
Period. And I'm talking about everything needs to be translated,
mm,
even the word Islam. Translate the word Islam to whatever it means in your language.
mm.
And the reason I'm saying that is because the word Islam, the word Muslim, it's gone. I don't think you can
Yeah,
say that anymore.
yeah,
You
yes.
know, there's people that have claimed to own
Way
it.
too many. It anchors way too many preconceived ideas, and
There you go.
it's just massively rinsed out, man.
There you go.
It got tainted
Yeah,
badly.
and it's
Heavily tainted, heavily.
yeah, and
And
if
what
we
makes matters worse is if you don't translate it.
it'd be a
Sorry, let
lot.
me add this. If you don't translate it,
Mm,
because this is where all the argument is coming from, really. If you don't translate it completely, you will always have people who claim to speak Arabic trying to dictate X, Y, Z, blah, 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 blah. But if you make it as universal as it is,
Universal, yeah.
yeah, all we need to do is just make the Quran universal again, as it was intended to be.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. I reckon stripping it off all the extra,
The
like,
local stuff, just
yeah,
keep it universal.
that's it, man. Because it
That's
is,
literally all we need to do.
isn't it? Like, ultimately, it is the most universal gift from creator to creation. So when it
Yeah.
gets into these different kind of subculture and,
Yeah,
you know,
local stuff. He said, she said, he did this, he moved that way, he moved this way.
mm,
What's all that about?
yeah.
True.
The universality, man. That I think that needs to shine through, man. Definitely, I think that's what really does the Quran justice, man. When you remember that it's for all of mankind, and instead of romanizing certain words and making buzzwords and brands out of them, you just translate it simply, man, and to
Simply, bro.
what objectively means that anyone can understand it. It's not some esoteric codex, like a kind of code word. Like it's not encrypted like that.
Exactly. And if you think about it, really and truly, most of the translations aren't that bad. They've only like the only thing they've done is, let's say, about 20 words. I don't even think it's more than that. About
Mm,
20 words they've obviously translated in a way to correspond with their books. That's
that's
it. That's all they've done. The rest is fine.
Yep.
It's literally about 20 words which they've, doctored a bit to correspond with their books, and that's it.
Have
yeah,
you seen that website Corpus Quran?
yeah,
Yeah.
Have you seen like a lot of words when you just check them, they mean different things in like same spelling. I don't know what they're doing. It's like Allah means this over here, Allah means that over there. Why?
Precisely.
yeah. There is definitely a bit of trickery is done with the roots and stuff, man. I see there is a little bit of even with corpus. I do see a bit of trickery in that, man. But I mean, I think that could
Really and
easily.
truly, all they've done is use the language to take the piss out of people. Nothing else. What else have they used?
Yeah, because the Quran is language.
Yeah, they basically went, no one can understand Arabic. Shut up, listen to us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Listen to us.
I remember last week me and Renegade were speaking on Discord, and I gave him an example. I just remembered it. 50 years ago or 60 years ago, they used to call gay a happy and all of
Yeah,
that. And
yeah,
now gay means this. Maybe after we've died, gay becomes priest. And
yeah.
after 200 years, it becomes king.
yeah,
Another thing I found interesting is that the only weapon they have, this is why this argument is really a non-starter. The only weapon they have is basically manipulating single words here and there. That's the only weapon they have. But they'll stick on one word and go, "Oh no, you don't know what this word means." Blah blah blah. We'll tell you what this word means. And you have a greater weapon, and it's the only weapon you need,
mm,
and that is to always read the context. I beg of you guys. That's literally all you need. Every time they make an argument and they try to bully you with a single word, read that word in the context it's in
yeah,
and
yeah.
be confident about that.
I remember you and Baba Shoaib had a long two-part discussion
About
about
sujood.
sujood. Oh, that was amazing. That was amazing.
Uh,
And in the end, still he and I agree and understand his position. He still wasn't agreeing because then how does the sun and moon do it? How does a tree do it? How does my cell phone do it? Because
You
they're
know
all
what that you know what made that argument? Yes, Puntak, my brother, I have heard of Benjamin Bilal. Actually I haven't seen his translation of the Quran, but I've watched many videos of him. What was I saying? Where the hell was I?
we were talking about
that's good.
sujud and Baba Shoaib.
Yeah, please check this out.
Yeah,
This just goes to prove when people are emotionally attached to something, they'll come up with absolutely anything. Absolutely anything. And I'll show you what I mean by that. You can look up the video. It's in my channel for anyone interested. So me and Baba Shoaib, we were talking about sujud. And it got to a stage where we looked up every single usage of the word sujud throughout the Quran. And not a single one of them, and the word sujud is found throughout the Quran. Not a single one of them could he argue means prostration. Not a single one. He stuck to one. He stuck to just one. You can watch the whole video. One verse, and he basically fought to the end for that one verse. But the sad thing about that one verse is that he didn't actually pay attention to his argument. But the sad thing about that one verse is he's using the mushriks as an example. He's basically going, let's look at what the mushriks did. So the first place he really failed, but he didn't think about, is that he's basically asking us to copy mushriks. Ah, look, the mushriks did this, therefore we're supposed to do it as well, which is ridiculous thinking. Because when it comes to how the believers use the word sujood, which is found throughout the Quran, it's always after the Quran or a kitab is recited to them. So a kitab is recited to them, they do sujood as a response. So it can only be submission in that context. The Quran is recited to you, you've submitted to what has been recited to you. However, you put your head down on the ground because someone has recited the Quran to you. No one does that.
Mm.
No one does that. Go and recite the Quran to people right now and let's see if they prostrate. No one does that.
Mm.
You see? So he couldn't argue when it comes to the believers. So he argued when it comes to the mushriks. So that was the first place that he failed. The second place that he failed is, let's just say for argument's sake that someone is prostrating to the sun. Let's say someone is prostrating, or even prostrating to the sun. How could you tell just by looking at someone that they're prostrating to the sun? How could you tell?
You cannot.
You can't. Think about it. A human being with their head down on the ground and the sun where the sun is.
Exactly.
How do you tell?
Mm.
There's no perspective.
Yeah, what perspective would they go? So when this person is prostrating, he's prostrating to blah blah blah. But when this person is prostrating, he's prostrating to the sun. What indicates that?
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing.
There's
It's
nothing.
impossible. You see
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
It's also interesting that it's quite clear that the sujood is like it's like an internal state that changes towards submitting or yielding towards God. You know, God's rule,
Absolutely.
law. It's very much an internal state of mind change rather than just a physical gesture. I mean,
Absolutely. I mean, in fact, the gesture itself, and this is another thing that I was thinking about. The gesture itself doesn't mean anything if there is no commands that follow it. Because the gesture itself is only a gesture to say that I have surrendered to you. You see? Now, if you're going to surrender to someone, what does it mean to surrender if there is no orders? What are you surrendering to?
Exactly. Perfect. Perfect.
yeah. I mean,
The
it's just.
whole purpose of surrendering is you're surrendering to do this and do that.
Mm.
What else? You see what
That
I mean?
doesn't make any sense at all.
So there's no sense whatsoever. None
Also,
whatsoever.
it's all about the command for Iblis to sujood to Adam and the angels, you know, sujood. Obviously, you know, the angels they help us, they assist us, they've
Yeah, why would they put their head down on the ground for us?
exactly,
Why?
yeah, it makes no sense that it's just they're just gonna, you know, bow physically for
They-
Adam. But what
I'm
we see
telling
is
you,
we
these
see them
people have
pray
lost
for
the
us.
plot.
Angels pray for us, they assist us in battle, they send
No,
revelation down to us, you know, they're assisting us there, you know.
absolutely.
Just imagine if you look at the geometrical aspect of the whole scenario. A man is like a grain of sand, and an angel is maybe like a mountain, the size, whatever, or whatever an angel is, because the Quran don't speak angel. The word angel is from the biblical language,
Mm.
the language of the gospel. Quran says malaika. Now those malaika, what are those? You have no idea, truly.
Mm. Yeah, like you were saying, X, you know, about making the Quran universal. Also, I think we need to remove the Quran from Judeo-Christian paradigm because this is
Very much.
stifling a lot of understanding, you know, man. It's literally keeping us trapped in this paradigm, this Judeo-Christian matrix of how we interpret the Quran, you know, how we interpret the children of Israel, or how we interpret what the Torah and Injil is. it just anchors us in this whole thing, man. You know, this whole Judeo-Christian Kabbalistic perspective, and it's got to be just independent of all of that. And we tend to assume that the Quran came after the Judeo-Christian narrative, but I'm starting to think that the Judeo-Christian narrative was almost like an attempt to rebrand and circumvent the Quranic paradigm. You know, because I think the Quranic paradigm is in its whatever previous iterations has not been so different. It's, you know, it's been the same. But then somewhere down the line, we were trained to think that, well, the Judeo-Christian version is first, and we just comport with that. You know, I'm not so convinced of the whole Judeo-Christian Kabbalistic thing anymore. You know, like.
I hear you, bro. I hear you. To be honest, I've never looked at the Quran as some sort of like it's some storytelling of any kind.
Mm,
I always look at the Quran as teaching man about, principles that they should live by, and also giving us ideas of how men behave. So for instance, when I look at the previous books, I see the lesson that's being taught is that God has sent a message before,
mm,
and when God sent that message, what people try to do is they try to add to it.
mm,
You see, they try to add to it, make up their own laws, and etc. etc. So that gives me an idea of how men are likely to behave. You see, the second thing is with Jesus, he can have any name, but there's a lesson being taught again,
mm,
and that is that people started to conjecture about Jesus after he left. They started to make all kinds of conjecture and say, he was crucified and
mm.
killed. He's the son of God and blah, blah, blah. And God is basically saying, do you have proof for any of this stuff?
Yeah,
You know? So again, it teaches me about how you shouldn't have conjectures, but you should try and establish the facts. You
yeah,
see?
that's right.
So, and again, all of the messages sent to different communities, how they're always responding with, "We want to follow the ways of our forefather." That teaches a great lesson, which is something that we witness with people every day. You
Wow,
know,
yeah.
they just want to follow their forefathers. It's not about facts for them. You know,
Mm,
so I see it all as teachings.
mm.
Very vital things that you need to learn about the nature of man, in other words.
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of signature archetypes that the Quran does point us to, you know, like
Yeah,
it's loaded full of that, and you can see those archetypes among all peoples. Or I mean, I've traveled a lot over the years, you know, and I've literally seen these archetypes in every race, culture, you know, you name it. It's just like repeating archetypes, you know.
that's precisely it, bro.
That's
That's
why.
exactly that's exactly what they are. They're archetypes.
Hmm,
These are things you can witness every day. That's why I always say the Quran, everything the Quran talks about is demonstrable. You see this stuff.
yeah, right, yeah, yeah, yeah. It is. It is literally the most perfect lesson we could be given from a creator. Like it's you know, it
Agreed.
has it all, man.
Agreed.
Hmm.
What do you think? Samari was some person, right?
Samari?
Samari, yeah, Samari.
During the time
I
of
think you've gone deeper than me, my bro.
No, no. I
You,
mean, I mean,
you,
like you're not in conflict that it wasn't a magician or something. That's what you think, right?
you see, the word magician, I'm not sold on.
No,
I'm
but
not sold on that.
well, various translations are translating him as something entirely different. Like Baba
Okay.
Shir says it's Samaritan. Somebody says it's a magician. Samaritan, I know Samaritans are these charity runners who help
Yes,
homeless
yeah,
people.
yeah.
So, like, what are they trying to do? I think there's everybody is like according to their understanding putting things, but it's not doing justice to the Quran,
I
in the
agree. I agree. That really annoys me when people are opinionated. Like I only try to, you know, stick stand on that which I'm sure about, that which I can prove. If I can't prove it, I leave it. As
Mm,
you saw with many examples that you brought to me today, I haven't got the facts, so I'm not gonna open my mouth.
yeah,
I don't know why people want to be opinionated. I really don't.
yeah. I think everyone's competing in the kind of marketplace of ideas, isn't it? People want more subscribers, they want more donators, they want more
I
Patreon.
agree. I think that's what it is.
Yeah,
But that's annoying though, man.
yeah,
Because let God speak for himself, innit?
yeah, for
Like,
sure.
Don't act like you're this talented, sophisticated guy who cracked the code no one else can see. You know? That's
Yeah,
what a lot of people are doing, and that really annoys me, man.
yeah, yeah.
I
It's
don't
interesting,
think there's anything
man.
sophisticated about our position.
It's
Huh?
true what you're saying. It's true what you're saying, bro. Like there is a lot of that marketplace of ideas thing, man, and eyes on screen and real estate and monetization. It's like it's just a lot of people making a living off this of Deen, you know, like
Well, Sunnism, I call it social media. So really and truly, if you think about Sunnism today, it's just this social media content.
mm,
You had these guys, Ali Dawa and Muhammad Hijab, and these guys, they make all of this noise. They go and, they go and have all of this rah with the Christians and blah, 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 and they upload it on social media. That's it. That's what Sunnism has become now.
yeah, yeah.
To the point you have dudes like Andrew Tate talking about I'm Sunni. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Forget that. Forget Andrew Tate. What am I talking about? Have you guys heard of Brittany Renner?
Nah,
You haven't heard of Brittany Renner?
nah. I've
no.
been living under a rock for years,
Oh, I
man.
must be bad. I shouldn't have heard of Brittany Renner too.
Who's that? Who's it?
Basically, it's a video vixen. Let's just put it that way. She used to be a video vixen, and she was like one of the worst.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
There you go. She
Oh,
was she was like one of the worst women you have ever come across. And then when all the doors were basically shut on her, guess what? I've become a Muslim.
It's a new fan base, like a new, yeah. It's a new community, a new fan base. You know, yeah.
But they're only able to get away with it because of all of this symbolism.
Symbolism, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
There
yeah.
you go. If
Symbols.
you remove the symbolism,
yeah.
you
Just
can't
think,
you can't
just,
abuse it anymore.
just think about it. Some famous celebrity is like, "Oh, I'm a Quran alone now." They'll start throwing rocks at him.
There
They
you
won't
go.
let him come up.
There you go.
Yeah.
Also, I
Just
think Dawa is big business, man. I think there's a lot
A
of
massive businessman.
wallets. There's a lot of nations with big wallets, man, with a lot of these representatives and
100%.
massive.
yo,
No, I don't think it's a secret that a lot of them are funded overseas. There's no secret in that.
Yeah,
might be definitely.
yeah.
What do you think of Maverick? What do you think about Ruqya and possession and stuff?
I think that's un-Quranic stuff.
Un-Quranic, innit?
Yeah, completely un-Quranic.
It's like a superstition from the old
Yeah.
days, ignorance. You know, like something would jump inside of you and control you against your will, and then a holy man will exorcise it. It all seems a bit sus.
Exorcism. I think they got it from exorcism, innit? They saw
Yeah.
the Christians there and they were like, yeah, we gotta have some of that.
Mm.
You know what? Really and truly, mark my word. I don't think Sunnis are far from declaring the Prophet to be like some kind of son of God. I
Mm.
really don't think they're far from that.
They're
Or like,
close.
or like a
They,
magician.
they call him holy prophet. Like
Yeah,
not
there you go.
they've
The
already.
greatest creation ever created, they're already there. He's already legislating besides God.
I'm
Yeah.
from Pakistan. In the villages over there where people are illiterate, what kind of stories? I'll tell you one story. A guy says that the angel Jibril used to go up and down from earth to heaven. And he's like, one day I asked God, what is this star, right? So he's like, no, no, something like, oh, when he was revealing the message to the prophet, and the prophet told him that how old I am, and he's like, oh, that star that you used to see when going up and down to God for some task, that was me. I'm like, whoa, like some ridiculous sort of stories. And people, when you name the prophet, they're like, oh my god, this can't be fake.
That's what I'm saying.
I think this is how the Christians started as well. I reckon it was a slow tiptoe. I think the devil just misled them step by step by step
Step
by
by
step.
step, I agree.
That's what I see it happening. I can see it happening with. I mean, some sects already say that the whole universe was created for Muhammad. Some says he was there at the beginning with God in the garden. Some say he's just nur and light. So I'm already hearing that
Some
from.
say that Jibril asked God, "Oh, whose name is this on the throne with you?" Some
Yeah.
stupid shirk sort of statement.
Wow.
Yeah, I've heard this.
I'm with you.
Wallahi, I've heard this in Pakistan.
Yeah, man, I've heard this as well. Yeah,
Wow.
So they basically venerate the Prophet too much.
Yeah.
Way too much. Even the Christians are like, what's going on? Even the atheists are like, what's going on? You know, sometimes when I look in the chats with videos talking about Quran and Hadith and stuff like that, I see a bunch of atheists going, hold on, how can you undermine the very book you claim to be from God?
Mm.
Like when you say another book explains this book, which one is from God then?
Yeah, that's madness, bro.
God
Madness.
is the one that requires assistance here, you see?
Hmm.
Yeah, it's like
Stupid
God
man.
depends upon men to clarify His word. Like God
Yeah,
needs. And was it they say that the Quran needs the Sunnah more than the Sunnah
more
needs the
than the Sunnah needs the Quran. Yeah, bro, they stop at nothing. Actually, here's another one that I've heard. Please listen to this because for some reason it slips past most people. The best speech is the word of God.
Quran?
The best guidance is the guidance of Muhammad.
Yeah, this is what they say.
That's madness.
This is called khutbatul hajr when they recite on the Jummah khutbah.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
So God, he only gets speech.
Mm.
But guidance, the other guidance.
Guidance, the prophet gets that.
Yeah. Have you
So
heard?
God, see, speech is anything, you know. Waffle is speech.
Mm.
So God could be waffling, but the prophet, he's bringing guidance. See that?
Yeah, that's madness, bro. Have you also,
Madness beyond belief,
have
bro.
you also heard about the omniscience or omnipotence that certain sects ascribe to Muhammad? So when they pray, for example, the Prophet is present with them. So basically, he's present in every mosque, all around the world at the same time. I mean, that make no sense. Like that's a type of omnipresence that the people are ascribing to Muhammad. So
In Pakistan, there are some sects, they believe that the Prophet comes for dinner at the house.
yeah,
And their followers believe it, bro. I'm not joking. So
wow.
weird. Can you imagine?
Bro,
So he comes
No,
to everyone's house at the same time, like Santa Claus. He can just come everywhere anytime at the same time.
it's absolutely insane, man.
Yes, difficult times, man. Difficult times. But I like to think that people who weren't raised in this type of deviant mindset, like for example, someone who was formerly probably atheist or Christian or agnostic, like I'm
Can't
sure
even
they
make
can see the
that.
Quranic message exactly for what it is. And there's something in the Quran, I don't remember the verse, about how God will inherit the book to another people.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it seems like that is like where it
This
tends to be heading.
Renegade, funny you mentioned that because that's the conclusion that I've come to. The
Mm,
conclusion that I've come to now, really and truly, the people that I'm really trying to reach now, that
mm,
it's not the Sunnis. I've given up on the Sunnis. It's impossible to get through to at least most of them. Every now and again, one of them will have the courage to think for themselves. But
mm,
in general, you can't get through to them. So the people that I'm really trying to reach is, like I said, A, the people who think they are ex-Muslims,
mm,
trying to tell them, look, chill out.
mm.
And B, you're just ex-Sunni at most. And
Yeah.
B, if we are not going to respect the message, I'm talking about the communities that are claiming monopoly over the Quran right now.
Mhm.
If we are not going to respect the message and we're going to, talk about the Quran abrogates certain verses, it needs to be explained. There's nothing left in the Quran
Yeah.
in the Sunni world, really. Nothing. They've either abrogated things or they've explained away things. So
Mm.
there's really nothing left.
Nothing left,
Do
man.
you see what I'm saying?
It's just a songbook. It's just ceremonial. It's
It's
just
literally ceremonial now.
yeah.
So since we are just gonna treat it like a ceremonial book, yeah. So if that's all, if that's how we're gonna treat it as, then let the rest of the world have it.
Yeah, that's it. That's
But
true. I think
literally, let the rest of the world have it.
it's gonna happen, bro. It's already happening.
Yeah,
Like
I mean, if you want to talk about whoever leaves the deen, fuck Taloo, you're talking about people that are already Sunnis, right? So you're trying to keep hold of your herd, right?
yeah.
Cool. Keep hold of your herd, but let those outside
Mm,
let them take the Quran if that's what they really want. Like, don't prevent them. So
mm,
that's my target now. I'm trying to go, hey, look, this is what the Quran really says. you already live by the Quran. There is nothing better than the Quran, and you don't have to take anything besides the Quran.
True,
So
true.
there you
Yeah.
go.
I think that's a lot more appealing as well, man. A lot of people are hungry for real, genuine truth, you know, kind of secular truth, if
100%.
that makes sense. Not everybody wants to take on a new ethnic identity. So,
Exactly. Culture.
yeah, man. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, man. It's a good place to put your focus, man.
Really and truly, if you really think about Sunnism and Shiism, and this actually goes to show how great the Quran is, there is nothing but culture in Sunnism and Shiism. I guarantee you there's nothing but culture. And
Mm,
the reason that is the case, it's by design, because God has completed everything moral in the Quran. So all of the universal morals are
mm,
already in the Quran. So they couldn't actually tell you anything moral. So
mm.
the only thing they could come up with is when you're going in the toilet, go in with your left leg, and when you're coming out the toilet, go out with your right leg.
Man, damn.
What else? There's nothing. I dare you to tell me a single thing in the Sunnah, all of the hadiths, that doesn't come down to culture.
Yeah, it's utterly redundant anyway. Whatever you can get from it,
Redundant,
it's redundant, man. It's completely redundant.
just pure culture.
Yeah. And also, it's funny. Have you not noticed that? I mean, since we were growing up, right? Sunni meant something very different to what it is today. It seems like
Absolutely.
every dawah is Salafi, Wahhabi. Every one of those kind of famous dawaists, they're all Salafi, man. Like that's the standard, you
They've
know.
lost the plot, bro. When I grew up, Sunnah was just
It's like
superfluous. It
yeah.
was something, if you did, you was rewarded for.
Mm.
If you didn't, it was not a big deal. It was never referred to as revelation when I grew up.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
never heard of Sunnah being spoken of as revelation.
Yeah, same, man. It seems like the whole orthodoxy has shifted from, I guess, whatever Sunni we grew up with to like,
Yeah.
Salafism now, hardcore Salafism, where if you miss a Sunnah, it's punishable by hell, like it's changed, man. The whole
Well, Salafism has really lost the plot, to be honest with you. And I'm kind of glad for Salafism because it's making people see how far they've gone. Like you'd be shocked how many Sunnis don't like Salafis.
yeah,
Salafis are not liked anymore.
mm, yeah. Yet they have the biggest platform in the Dawah circle, in the YouTube shorts, and
That's because they have the young.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's their crowd. They have the young. And you know how energetic and loud and sure of themselves the youths are.
yeah, man. Yeah, it's almost like it's a reactionary to the degeneracy. It's like the far opposite.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah, man, that's my target, man. I really want to represent if if we, the people who've claimed a monopoly over the Quran are not gonna respect the Quran, then let the rest of the world have it. For
yeah,
as it is, without trying to taint it with Sunni ideas.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's true, man. Otherwise, we're just putting them in another form of the same type of box, just giving them the whole ritual spiel and all the other
Yeah,
culturalisms. I mean, bro, we're all Londoners anyway, man. Like, we're literally neighbors, man. Like, this,
absolutely, man. You know what? Another target that I have, actually, believe it or not, is I'm trying to like build this channel to a point where like trying to build it where there's a lot of followers
Mm,
and we're all on the same page. And then once we're all on the same page, not like through design, but we've had conversations and blah 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 and pinpointed things.
mm,
Once we've done that, I want to knock them off the perch, man. I want to basically, like, for example, I'm not gonna lie to you. I want to send a bunch of people to Speaker's Corner to
mm.
challenge all of them.
Yeah.
I want to chase them out of Speaker's Corner first. Once we chase them out of Speaker's Corner, because they can't hold it down. The only reason they have all of this noise is because of numbers.
Numbers, yeah, yeah,
Through
yeah.
numbers. Because if we went to them, it would be like one or two of us. There'd be 20 of them. They'd speak over us. They
They'll
would try
interrupt
and,
you, insult you, yeah, yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
they'll try and insult you and
I've
just
seen you on camera,
throw
man.
you off your argument. They will come up with all kinds of shenanigans.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to the actual debate, they know they stand no chance. So if we just match them with numbers, that's it. It's game over.
Mm. It's interesting, and I reckon, ironically, the numbers will be mainly made up of those who weren't, or who weren't from a kind of
I think we'll get a bunch of Westerners.
Mhm.
yeah. I think you literally see people of every color,
Absolutely.
every culture, whatever, or no culture. You just
It'll
see,
actually be beautiful if you think about
man, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be amazing. It'll
it.
be
It'll be,
amazing.
and
It'll,
in fact, if we challenge them in Speaker's Corner and we have a crowd, then that automatically will transfer over to online as well, and we'll
Mm,
smash them there too.
True.
yeah.
That'll be a big day. Every YouTube channel will be showing the scene.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it'll be
I
an
think
invasion.
I think they're going to start losing the online battle as well, because you're already starting to see them being called out a lot in the comments. Like, a lot of the people are now starting to call them out, and they're having to pump out a lot of anti-Quran alone content regularly.
Oh,
They're threatened, man.
they're
That
threatened big
big time,
time,
big time.
big time.
Exactly, exactly.
Like honestly, they're so threatened. Sometimes I feel sorry for them.
You know why? Because they're gonna lose their jobs. They'll have to do hard work. They have never worked in their life. They just do dawah.
You
Yeah.
know that annoys me. You know that really annoys me.
What, selling
Like
the words of God for a cheap price? You know.
yeah, that really gets to me. Like earlier on, I was watching that Ali Dawa guy, and they had a little stall and blah blah blah, and they're talking about the usual donate, 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 and man, that pissed me off.
Mm.
Like he's literally taking the piss out of his audience.
Yeah.
The
Wow.
amount of donations they've taken, they must have.
Every day they want donations all the time. Donate for this, donate for that,
Yeah.
donate for prayer mats.
Wow. Yes.
They're making a masjid in Norway, and you want to donate, 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 get your space in Jannah or something.
And they're always talking about donate for a new mosque. How many mosques do we have?
Yeah, true.
Yeah. You guys know the verse 934? I mean, I'll read the translation. That, oh, you who believe, many of the priests and monks. I mean, by that I just mean like religious
Yeah, of course,
clergy.
Yeah,
of course.
Consume the money of the
yeah.
people, consume the money of the people in falsehood, and they repel from the path of God. And those who hoard gold and silver and do not spend it in the cause of God, give them news of a painful retribution. So this whole like monetizing and gaining revenue from spirituality and from God,
Yeah,
truth and scripture. It's an old one, isn't it? It's an old practice, man.
absolutely, man.
It's the biggest.
And if you think about it, that's what they look. Now you got Sneeko,
Oh yeah, yeah.
Sneeko for crying out loud.
No, but they got a new fish they're fighting on.
Yeah,
Grayson Brock.
yeah. Now Grace and Brock, they're trying to fish him in hard.
Oh yeah, yeah,
But I
yeah.
feel like some of these guys are grifters themselves.
They are
I really feel because you know what? If you think about another trend that I've noticed.
reading the Quran online.
No, another trend that I've noticed
Yeah,
is the amount of white revert Sunnis, the amount of white revert Salafis,
yeah,
white, and they're not only just reverts, but they take the mantle.
they do.
Now, I'm not a child. I wasn't born yesterday. I have to ask myself, why is it that they take the mantle all the time?
Mm.
Because they're trying to open a new market, if you will. Look, we've got these guys. Imagine you would have never thought that these guys would be Salafis, but even they are Salafis. Then surely there must be something.
Mm.
Do you get it?
Yeah,
You
because
start-
they weren't raised into it. It appealed to them, and they joined it willingly. So it's like another hook, isn't it? It's like, let's get these faces. I mean, it's all marketing. Let's
It was
get
marketing, bro.
the people we're trying to draw in. If we're
It's
targeting
crazy marketing, man. The marketing is insane. But the marketing went left, though. I mean, Andrew Tate, really? Really? Andrew Tate? That's where they went with it?
I think there's a lot of Trojan horse stuff happening though with all this Islam stuff, because they can't diminish the message of the Quran alone, yet they'll kind of muddy the waters by having all these questionable celebrities and figures that still maintain a degenerate lifestyle, but they hook onto some sense of identity and symbolism of this so-called creed. So I think a lot of it is also to kind of say, look, you can also be deviant and Muslim, you can also be queer,
Yeah,
and
good
you can also
point.
be Muslim. I
Good
think
point.
it's muddy the water, man. Because I think the only way they can really attack the Quran is to muddy the water around it in the hope that you throw out the baby with the bath water. So I think there's a lot of that 3D
In
chess
fact,
stuff.
they've started to say that lately. You know that, like they've started to say out loud, if you don't follow the Sunnah, then don't follow the Quran. Like, why are you
No,
following the Quran? They're
really?
saying that out loud now.
Mm.
Wow. No way, man.
No, they're proud of it, bro. They literally they'll tell you. You know what? In fact, this is how far they'll go, and this is why I don't understand why their audience never listen to what their idols say. They'll
Mm.
say stuff like, "If you don't follow the hadiths, then what makes the Quran better than any other book?" Imagine that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, what
They
makes the Quran convincing?
Quran
It's
to
like
defend.
a branding.
Huh?
It's
Yeah,
like a authorization. The hadith is authorizing the Quran in a way.
Yeah.
you see how quickly that they will trash the Quran to defend.
ASAP,
You know, bad,
ASAP, bro.
bad.
I've met atheists and Christians that have more respect for the Quran than they do.
Yeah.
They have
It's
no problem throwing the Quran.
bruv, it's the perfect clickbait. You just promote. You try and do dawah with the Quran, but then what you're really bringing them into is this Salafi
Yeah.
control grid. Like it's clickbait. We show them this, but what we're really saying is once you enter in, because they know they can't promote Islam with the Hadith or Salafism or the traditions or the rituals. That's not really appealing. But you kind of give them the objective truth for the Quran a little, and then you just pull that hook in. Once
There
you
you go, bait and switch.
bait and switch 101.
Literally. In
Yeah.
fact, Abu Sulaiman said that earlier, and I think most people are noticing. They actually right now the only usage, the one of two usages they have for the Quran is to use it as bait and switch,
Mm.
to gain new reverts and whatever, and to recite it melodically during their wonderful symbols.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of the whole tajweed thing, bro. I'm not a fan of it, man. It just
I'm
sounds
not a fan of it at all. In fact, I'm convinced that it's designed to distract people from the actual
distract
content.
Yeah.
distract from the message. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
just beautifying it and adorning it, but
there you go.
you're not really saying, bro. Some of those verses they'll be having you crying, not like nodding your head and swaying with it like it's a song, man. Like it's
There you go.
messages, bro. It makes you reverence. I mean, look, if you sent the Quran to the mountains, you'll see them crumbling out of fear. But yet they're beautifying it to such a point where it's almost like the meaning's not important. Just listen to the sound and you'll feel good. Like it's just what's happening, man.
It's
That's
more
what.
like a opiating, sedating effect.
Yeah, almost. Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
like every one of their videos, they have this like hypnotic nasheed in the background. Like
Yeah.
it's mad, bro. There's a lot of there's a lot of games going on here, man.
There's mad amount of games going on, bro. There's so many games I got. I sometimes rate them. Like I'm amazed much by how much madness they can come up with. I swear to God, I'm actually fascinated by them.
Yeah,
It's
man.
crazy how
Bro,
they
we can
got away
study
with
this,
them.
man. We can literally study this in like a psychology PhD level, man. Like the kind of methods, man. It's probably straight out of Harut and Marut, like some of the things that they're employing that you don't know, the subtle kind of
Yeah,
anchors,
man.
kind of subliminals and stuff, man.
I agree, bro. You know
Anyways,
what?
brother, it's
Is
late. I gotta go. Yeah.
I gotta go as well. You guys killed me, man. But listen, let's
Yeah.
talk about. All right. So how should we do this? Should we do this like every what? Friday, every Sunday? What do you reckon? What should we
Whatever day you like, bro.
make it regular?
Yeah, I'm open, man. I'm flexible, man. So I mean, kind of
I
not.
think Sunday is a good day, in it. Like
Yeah.
Sunday,
Yeah. Yeah. Sunday's alright.
What
say
sort of kind of times like? I mean, nothing too late. I mean, I'm a bit of an old man now, man. So I need sleep type thing, Like when I don't
I
get
hear
sleep,
you.
it affects
Same
me.
here.
I hear you.
Like a kind of early evening, like a 7 8 ish,
Even
7 8 ish.
I
That
think
or
You reckon a 7 8?
9 is
Yeah.
okay. I think for me.
possibly, yeah, maybe. Unless you guys got other commitments, but
No, I don't think that's a bad idea. I think 7 8 ish every
Yeah.
Sunday sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
you're
Perfect.
right. Yeah, that could be fine. Yeah.
Sounds good to me. What do you think, my bro?
Inshallah. Inshallah. Definitely.
Sounds good to you?
Yeah.
All right, the chats. What do you guys think in the chats, man? Every Sunday, 8 o'clock London time. And we're gonna make it every Sunday until until we're recognized, damn it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Inshallah. Inshallah. Definitely, brother.
Renegade. I think you must have dropped by accident, man. I don't
Oh
think
yeah,
you.
his phone, he might have pressed a button.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, Sundays, 8 o'clock. Saudi timing is hard. I hear you, Abu Suleiman, my bro. I hear you, man.
Yeah, even right now it's really late right now.
Now this is late right now. I'll be honest with you. I was meant to go like an hour ago. You guys really an hour something ago. But I enjoyed talking to you guys. So
Thanks a
like
lot.
that.
Sorry, it was just one verse, and
Yeah, minor renegade, man. We clocked that. You can definitely join. So yeah, Sundays, 8 o'clock. That's how we're gonna do this from now on.
inshallah,
But what
inshallah.
we're gonna do is every time we link up, we're gonna discuss a particular topic, and
Mm.
then we're gonna put that topic to bed, and then we'll move on to another topic, and then we put that to bed, and then we move that way
That's
to
cool. But
until
I have
we
a
get to the
suggestion.
stage.
I have a suggestion. Why don't we take like we take topics first? We done with them, then we take words. Like one word used in the Quran many times.
Agreed.
Why?
I agree.
The root
No,
one.
we are actual Quran alone in it. We're gonna actually study the Quran. That's what we're about. We're
Yeah,
not about listen to me. I have these wonderful ideas and blah blah blah.
true.
We're about studying the Quran, presenting it as it is for whoever's watching, and that's that. If after that people decide to follow the Sunnah or to reject the Quran, whatever people decide to do is really not up to me. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. God is the guide.
that's it.
Okay,
Sounds
brother.
good. Sounds good to me, my brother. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Peace and love, and all of you listening. Peace to all of you, and God willing, we'll see each other when we do see each other. And again, peace.